Hello and welcome. My name is Sam. I'm playing this class Spear Dagger or Sound of Dancer since December the 2024th. I have around 1000 or 1200 hours on Spear Dagger. I decided to make a quick guide or to give you some tips, you can say it like that. I think I've grasped the gameplay of the PVE content a lot. So yeah, this is me and this is a small guide. I'm currently opting to using two transcendent pieces, two imperial pieces, instead of some people that uses two imperial, two void stalkers. I found that this combination is the best when it comes to an overall good performance. I think the void stalker set has better cooldown or attack speed than this build, but this build has a lot more base damage. Even though the passive of the Void Stalker gives you plus 20, it's just a lot better. The stats that you are getting from the gloves and the head is a lot more than 20 base damage on this build. I'm hitting really good thresholds for almost every stat. You are getting the heavy attack from the strength, 99 dexterity is the best PvE stat that you're gonna get, that gives you attack speed and base damage. Wisdom gives you a lot of cooldown speed, also a lot of base damage as well. Right now I idle without any buffs. I have 45% cooldown with 58% attack speed. That ramps up really quick because the spear has a lot of attack speed buffs. We're having 2.2k critical hit and where is it? Here it is. 58% critical damage, which is very good to have. Um, Let me make sure that I'm having the right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking that something was off. So 50% critical damage with uh, with Bloodseeker on, 57% critical damage without Bloodseeker on. So Bloodseeker is the passive that gives you actual lifesteal on the melee classes when you have daggers equipped, of course, because it's a dagger mastery. This is what I'm using for the daggers on the PvE. I'm currently testing strategic exchange if it's worth it, because you're losing some base damage on some key skills, but you're getting extra damage per poison and thundercloud attacks. And also this is my spear PvE mastery set. I'm using this one for the fortitude and some tankiness. 2 fortitude is 2 base damage, even though the 36 melee critical hit chance down is very important on paper, or not on paper. I can't phrase it, but 36 critical hit when you have like 2.2k isn't that good. But yes, this is my PvE masteries. And for the skills, for the bossing skills, I'm using this bar. I'm playing a lot with burst axe, poison, thundercloud, and ignite. So you're getting 4 different effect procs. You're getting a lot of heavy attack on this build. You're getting 850 normal melee heavy attack, and you are also getting like close to 800 boss melee heavy from the runes. If you see, I have opted to have a lot of boss melee heavy attack to gear that it doesn't matter if you have a synergy, and the other ones are normal. I am currently on the hunt for some chaos boss melee heavy attack, but I'm not that lucky. I'm hitting a lot of boss magic and boss range though. So for the specializations on the skills for the bossing, you really need this to have all three of them. It's very important, and I'm saying that because some people will go and switch some things up to test, and I really like when people doing that, because then they can come to me and we can start a conversation to make this build better. And this is for the spear. I ain't using the conditional damage specialization because I'm not very sure if it's working with party members when they stun the boss, because I don't have a stand currently in this set. Like that can work as well if we're sure that the conditional damage 20% is applied when someone else stuns the boss. But because mostly in a lot of dungeons I am tanking the boss, this 4k flat shield is really helpful sometimes. So I'm using patient block. This is really important because you are getting 20% critical damage for 3 seconds with buff duration that goes up to 5 seconds. Depends if you have 50% or more. And if you dodge roll with patient block, it becomes impaling impact. Now, nowhere here shows what impaling impact does, but it, except for the damage, that gives you another skill that deals 185% base damage plus 104 flat, also applies brand to the target. That means it's like you're getting the javelin surge for free. Not the same damage, but the same brand effect. The 482 skill damage boost, which is a lot. So, this is for the bossing, and this is the AoE version of this build. I'm currently running Death Knell, that gives a lot of attack speed and cooldown speed. The cooldown speed comes from the specialization from here. That helps in Berkant, in Crimson, especially when you farm solo. That's something I do a lot. Because the times I'm playing are very thin and I don't have time to wait for a full party or my friends to hop on. I usually farm in Berkant and you can burn like 30k tokens in half an hour. So it's a nice to have build. For the bossing rotation, there is some tricks that you have to pay in mind and some traps as well with this build. First of all, of course, the first rotation is pretty standard. You're gonna start with your buffs, and one small trick here is that you always start with Galeras. You can either go for Galeras plus Calling Arc to start the rotation, like I like to say that normally, or you can put the Cleaving Moonlight in between them to get the extra attack speed and get a good animation cancel. So you go like that and keep the rotation going with the extra attack speed. So, whoops, Q skills from the settings pop off. After that, you're going to use Stigma with Frenzy Sword. Those two abilities have the same cooldown because we've put the specialization here. That's why this specialization is pretty important, so both of them will have the same cooldown all the time and you won't have to worry about them. After those two, we're gonna hit Phoenix Barrage to get that sweet 15% critical damage for 5 seconds and get the ignite stacks on the opponent. So after we do this, hitting Phoenix Barrage, then Brutal Fury. Now you will notice they have the same cooldown speed. That's because we have a lot of critical. That means that we're mostly critting because we've got 2.2k plus the 410 because of the specialization from this ability. That's meaning we're having a lot of critical, so we don't have to worry about that too much. Now, for this to work, we need the Crimson Spear, or the passive from the Crimson Spear. It gives a lot of damage to the Brutal Fury, and we're getting that sweet cooldown on the Phoenix Barrage. Otherwise, the cooldown is double. Now, when you have put the 5 burst stacks from the Culling Arc and the 5 burst stacks from the Phoenix Barrage, usually, if you can be lucky, you can get a lot more. Like, you can get all 10 ignite stacks immediately. You're gonna use Brutal Fury, of course, Cleaving Moonlight if it has come off cooldown to refresh it, and then Slaughtering Slash. Slaughtering Slash consumes the burst stacks and the ignite stacks. It says or, but it takes both of them, and I will say that because it's a little bit of a bug or feature, I don't know anymore with this company. So, when you put burst stacks with ignite stacks, you see I put 8 this time, and then you press Slaughtering Slash. It consumes both, it deals a lot more damage. Now, the reason I'm using Inject Venom and you will see Thundercloud Bombing also with Thundercloud's effect on the Frenzy Sword is because when you have the hour specialization on the Frenzy Sword, you see, I did applied 18 Thundercloud stacks, and of course the poison stacks gets applied with my basic attacks as well. That goes up to 20 very quick. So you're getting 18 Thundercloud stacks. That means the Stigma, when it procs, it counts as the extra damage, the 4.2%, both poison and Thunderclouds. That means that you're getting a 20 times 4.2% for poison and almost 20 times 7.2% from the Thunderclouds. So you're getting almost a lot more damage amplification on this skill. That's why I'm currently testing the strategic resource from the mastery section. Now, the Thundercloud bombing of course does more damage when the enemy has Thunderclouds, but you have to be careful not to use them before the Stigma procs. So it's close to the end of the rotation, so it procs, I use it, consume the Thunderclouds, and now both skills deal more damage. They do have like 4 seconds or close to that cooldown, so sometimes you may use it without the Thunderclouds. So if you want to be a little bit more optimal, or you don't want to count seconds, you can take off the skill specialization from here and use it for the poison damage. Of course, this one is more consistent because the target will be always poisoned by you. And if I'm sure if you do that, you don't have enough. Yeah, this is a lot. If sometime we get more specialization points, we might do that like that, or use this one as well, which is also good. So it's a good twist to use it with whichever you feel comfortable with. So the full skill rotation should look like this. and at the end we're gonna use the eject venom again. Now I'm using one Kallingar because I'm used to the skill rotation for the bosses. Now, with the packs of the abilities, and when I say packs I mean, for example, Stigma, always you wanna use it with Frenzy Sword. You never want to use Frenzy Sword without Stigma, and Stigma without those two abilities goes together. That's what I like to call a pack. So another pack is gonna be the Culling Arc with Phoenix Barrage and Brutal Fury. Like I said, you want Brutal Fury to drop the cooldown from Phoenix Barrage, but you also want Culling Arc to have applied the 5 burst stacks for the Brutal Fury to be 3 times, because if you use it without the burst stacks, you can only use it once. So it doesn't matter if you use Culling Arc, then Phoenix Barrage, then Brutal Fury, or Phoenix Barrage, then Culling Arc, then Brutal Fury. Yeah, that might be a bit confusing. That means you always want to use Culling Arc and Brutal Fury together. First Culling Arc, then Brutal Fury. But to use that, you want the Phoenix Barrage to build cooldown. So you can either do it like that, to drop the cooldown off, or you can first use the Culling Arc, then the Phoenix Barrage, and yeah, I missed the second part of the Culling Arc. But you got the point. You can either use this one 2 times, then Phoenix Barrage and Brutal Fury, or the opposite. A small trap here that happened to me a lot, it's very hard for me to get used to not to do it, is that when you apply 5 burst stacks, if you go to apply more, the time won't refresh. So you might press Culling Arc and then go for the Brutal Fury, and you will wonder why you don't have it. A good way to prevent that is first to watch the boss that you are attacking, if it has the debuff, and then press the Brutal Fury, but that's very too dangerous. Yeah, my English decided to left me, or I decided to abandon them. You have to watch the boss, which is very dangerous, especially when you play a Calanthea raid. So what I like to do is always, or whenever I can, use Slaughtering Slash to destroy the stacks, like you see here, and then reapply for a small convenience on the rotation. Now, like I said, you want to use Thundercloud Bombing after the Stigma pops, and otherwise the other rotation is kind of the same, stays the same all around the boss. You're using Cleaving Moonlight whenever you can, you're using the other abilities whenever you can, and you're going like that. You see, I used the Thundercloud Bombing a little bit earlier because I will have time until the Stigma pops. And now you see, I lost the Brutal Fury. That's a good example. I didn't use the Culling Arc because it was like 1 to 2 seconds up here. That's the bossing build. That's all to cover around it. Now for the AoE build. The AoE build is actually a lot easier to understand. It has a smaller error window. So if I go to the dummy clusters over here, you will see that it's 10 times easier. So the only things you have to do is buff again, use Abyssal Cleave to stun, Phoenix Barrage, Explosive Furies, and now you just drop the Javelins. Now I didn't drop all of them because I wanted to be a little bit more cinematic, to have the Thunder Spirit on. So the way it works is that Javelin hits 3 people, it consumes 1 Ember that you're gonna get from the Explosive Fury, so you're getting 5 stacks from here. so that means 5 Javelin Infernos. This spreads, like it says, up to 3 times to 2 random targets. That means you are hitting 1 target plus 2 random near it. The good part about that is when you have the lightning infusion on, you're gonna stack thunderclouds to all 3 of them, like this guy is doing right now. So you're applying thunderclouds to all 3. With Thunder Spirit, we can extend that even further, or we can maximize the damage in a small cluster. So if there is only 3 people or 3 dummies, you can do a significant more damage, but if there are like 5 to 10 targets, it spreads evenly among them. So let's put that to test. You see, you're dealing a lot of damage, especially in the Berkan manor. Like all the mobs there, they have like 300k HP, so you're gonna probably kill a whole cluster in like what, 5 seconds, and go to the next room, do that again. So you're getting a pretty good clear. Now all the other abilities here, like the Kalinar, the Rising Slash, Cleaving Moonlight, Bombing, I do have them for convenience, because sometimes there's gonna be 1 to 2 mobs. It's a lot harder to kill with just the AoE build, because this build prioritizing the multi-target damage, so it has a pretty low single target DPS meter. And I implemented some abilities so I can be a little bit quicker when thus this 1 or 2 mobs stays alive. So this is it. This is my guide. I think I covered almost everything. Yeah, I didn't cover the masteries. You will prefer to have max damage and heavy attack on both up left and down right. I don't have one good here, one good trait, but I won't complain because this is very good artifact. I would prefer max mana and mana regen in this, and this one is just filler. I'm using the Abyssal Beast Lunar Stone here when I'm going to overworld PvE, because Fatal Stigma is a control skill that gives me 4% extra base damage for 5 seconds. I'm putting the buff duration inside, that's why it says 3 seconds, but I'm always saying 5 seconds on these abilities. And the best PvE Solar Stone, which is the base damage with plus 22. So that's it. I'm using this one for the PvE and this one for the gate. The only thing that changes is this Lunar Stone. Of course you wanna go with low HP in the Gate of Infinity. I'm currently having the rank 1 in both, with some videos that I've put in the channel that shows the times as well. That's it. That's the guide. I hope I helped some people that who are new in the class, and I hope some veterans of the class that watches this video have any idea, so we can get this build further, and the class in general. Again, thank you very much, and goodbye.